Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Doctors Living Deliberately. Today, I am so excited to have my bestie from residency here and her loving, supportive, wonderful husband, Dr. Jon Parsons and Dr. Melissa Parsons. Um, this is my husband, Dr. Michael DePalma. I forgot him too. He's important too. But we have just I have just been so excited about doing this episode with you guys to tell you a little bit about how I was able to discover the world of coaching and who I talk about her all the time. So she's here today. But we know each other, us four, all of us have gotten to know each other since 1999. We did our internships and residencies together. And so we know the ins and outs and the details and the good and bad details of things and how we kind of handle things and have handled things in the past. And so I thought it would be great to have both Doctors Parsons here today, as well as my husband, because we've all benefited from the wonderful world of coaching and how that's changed our lives. So I'm going to pass it over to my co-host, Dr. Michael Hersh. He is going to have the platform to kind of ask whatever he wants, to dive in, to figure out and help you guys see how this has changed our lives. So Dr. Michael Hersh.
Well, quite the task I have. Two awesome couples here. And so, I thought, since our audience has not gotten a chance to meet Dr. Melissa Parsons before, and she is, for those of you that don't know, one of the OGs in physician coaching. She kind of has been on the forefront of bringing coaching to doctors. And first of all, welcome. Hi, Melissa.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with all of you guys. I can feel the love.
Well, we are so excited to have you here. And so, you kind of started on this journey and then along the way brought in your best friend, your husband, and then her husband into coaching. And I'm so curious, like, what was that like for you in terms of you found this incredible tool? And then how easy or difficult was it to kind of pull everybody into this and get them to see the benefits?
So I think the first time that Arpita really got to see me as someone who had experienced coaching was when she dragged me to a pediatric conference in Arizona it was like early winter 2018. And I had already been through Katrina Ubell's Weight Loss for Doctors Only program. I did that group coaching for 6 months. And I had just started working with my marriage coach, Maggie Reyes, who's amazing. And Arpita and I were staying at this hotel. She made me go to CME with her because, I was still practicing pediatrics. She was not. She was managing Michael's office, and she wanted to keep her CME up. And so I just remember her and I like sitting in our room together and her being like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what is Melissa doing? Like, why is this happening? Like, she didn't get it. And, and I think just that first time she was just like, I don't get this. Like, why do you need this? How is this helping you? Like, what is it all about? And she really wasn't honestly that open to hearing about it. Like, I don't know if you remember, Uppy, but you weren't that interested, and which was fine. Like, I wasn't trying to, I don't think, push it on you at that time, but I was just, I was seeing huge benefits for it with my relationship with myself. And I was just starting to see the benefits for my relationship with Jon. And, I don't know. I think Arpita ended up calling me. I don't remember when that was, Uppy. Do you remember when that was?
Yeah.
When you
Well, I just wanted to add, so what you were talking about in that hotel room, I remember you talking about it, and I remember my brain going to, I don't know why she's doing this stuff. I don't know why. Maybe her self-confidence has really hit a low. Like maybe I know she wants to lose weight. I just don't get it, but whatever. What if she's happy and it's working fine? But that's my thought process. And I think that's what a lot of people go through is that what the heck is this coaching stuff? Like who needs a coach, right? So much disbelief around it. And so that's where I was then, and spot on. I didn't ask a lot of questions because I thought you were batshit crazy. Um, so, but I love you. You know, I love you.
Yes, yes.
And so that's when time like transpired. I knew you were doing it the whole time. And then fast forward to October of 20, I think, right? That's when I had the call with you. When I
Mm,
like, Melissa knows everything in terms of what's going on with the practice with us. And sometimes when I'm complaining about all my stresses and et cetera, et cetera. And so I did that again. I called her in October of 20 after COVID, because at that point we had lost so much staff. Almost we had that
mm,
major turnover of staff. And that's when I called her to kind of complain about that my dependability is dependent on that of other people. And
right.
also telling her about how much I'm screaming at my kiddos at home and just always pissed off. And do you remember what your line was? What you said to me?
I said something like, it sounds to me like you're not being very dependable at home. Like
Yeah.
they don't know which mom they're going to get. DePalma
Yeah.
doesn't know which wife he's going to get, you know? And so it was
What's so
just,
funny, John?
I know all the versions.
so I think, and, at that point you were like, and I think even on that phone call, I was like, do you want a friend or do you want a coach right now? Because they're two separate things, right? Like your friend will listen to you vent and say, yes, this sucks. And, totally you should, fire all the staff and rehire more dependable people and, just agree with you and, you know, validate what you're saying. And that is not what coaching is at all. It's more, asking questions and trying to get to the root of what you're really thinking about yourself that's making you act the way that you're acting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think pretty quickly after that, you drank the Kool-Aid.
Pretty much. Yep. I remember the way I remember you said it is, well, how do you think you're showing up for the kids? Are you
Mm,
showing up in a way that's dependable? And then that's what was like, I remember I felt like my heart sank because it was so true that I wasn't showing up the way I wanted. And I was just talking to Michael Hersh in the last episode that like Serena had a year and a half left at home, and I was so scared about my relationship with her. So yeah, so I think that's it. And then I started learning all about the coaching, listening to podcasts, joining group sessions, and learned so much and said, this is what I want to do. And, like you mentioned, I wasn't practicing, I was helping mostly with the office, but this was an avenue for me too, where I could help other individuals and see the light of what the heck this magic is, right? So,
yeah. And then I think as far as, getting John into it, when I hired Maggie, um, you know, he was all in, to his credit, like when she gave us homework and that type of thing, um, to read a book or to, share appreciations for one another and that type of thing. Um, he was like, I want to do that with you too. And I made the request of him instead of the demand, like, will you please, it would delight me if you would read this book with me and do these exercises and that type of thing. And I think we both saw how much it changed our relationship. And I think that, speaking to the kids aspect, like my biggest want for our kids is that when they don't have to come home and hang out with us, they still want to. And, we were at the point where, we were bickering and arguing over the same things over and over and over again, such that like, there's no way they're going to want to come hang out and listen to this. Like, they probably
mhm.
couldn't wait to get the hell out. Um,
So
but
John, I'm so interested because you first had a chance to witness Melissa going through coaching and seeing the changes that she was kind of bringing home, and then you got to be involved in coaching through the marriage coaching with Maggie Reyes. So what was your like? How were you experiencing all of this as you were going through it?
Yeah. So, stepping back, I can still remember we were at my brother's house for Christmas a few years ago, and we had way too much to drink. And so when we got up the next morning, Melissa and I were both hungover, and we had to take two cars because we had so much crap to have to transport up to the house. So And on the way home, she started listening to Katrina, who's, weight loss for doctors, body image, confidence kind of thing. And Melissa, lost like 40 or 50 pounds. I don't remember how much, a lot of weight, and was feeling so much better. And I was like, I don't know how talking to this person on Zoom is really getting you to lose weight. But I'm so happy that you're able to do it. So I was very impressed with the content. I had no idea what coaching was at that point in time at all. I never heard of it, to be honest with you. And then when she came to me about working with Maggie, and I was like, hey, look, I think our marriage is pretty damn good. And it really was, but
It was.
When I was a little cynical, maybe a little judgy, in academic medicine, where's the evidence? Where's the data? Show me why this works, kind of thing. And then,
and at that point, we didn't have the data. Like the studies hadn't been released.
Yeah.
Through New England Journal and that type of thing.
So we worked through with Maggie, and then, we just didn't fight anymore, and we didn't bicker, and we respected each other's lanes, and all of that. And so in the process of working with Maggie, I started, in my job, I was in charge of basically running the COVID response at a major Ohio State. And my work-life balance was starting to struggle and suffer. I was working 17, 18-hour days, 7 days a week, and I was still trying to work out, but personal time. Work-life balance was horrible. And I sort of became off the rails, to be honest with you. I was buffering with alcohol too much, and, not sleeping enough, and all of it. And so I finally, Melissa and the boys were like, you're a mess. You need to do something. So I found my personal coach at that point, Dex, and started working with him. I worked with him for over 2 years, and I'll let Michael DePalma speak for himself, but I found that paying it forward with Dex to not just Michael, but several other of my friends and colleagues in medicine really was one of the best gifts I could give, not just helping people with medical care, but just sort of their own personal care. So that's sort of my little nutshell story.
Yeah. What do you think your biggest takeaway from coaching, when you think back about your life before coaching and then kind of where you're at now, is there one kind of major thing that you think that coaching brought to you?
Yeah, I would say my mantra now is I can't fix what happened in the past, and I can't really control what's going to happen in the future. All I really can control is what's happening right now and how I experience that. So I try to, I still have my issues from time to time with that, but I really try to focus on experiencing the present day, because the future is not guaranteed, and I can't do anything about what happened in the past. So physicians aren't really good at that, especially people who are upwardly mobile, very professionally, advancing types of people. They always think the next step, what's next, and sometimes they don't pay attention to what's happening now.
Yeah, that's so important. I love that mantra, right? Because we do, I think, as physicians, but as just people in general, spend so much of our time, effort, and energy thinking about things that either have happened or can happen in the future, but not as much time kind of right now. And the truth is, the only time we actually have is this moment right here. So I think that's great. And then Michael DePalma. So you have had, you've gotten to watch Arpita kind of go through this process as well. And so from your standpoint as a husband, kind of what have you noticed just in your wife as she has gone through her coaching?
Well, thanks, Mike. It's a great leading question, but we've kind of gone in order of, like, speaking here this morning, the past half hour, the same order that our individual personal evolutions have gone in over the past several years. Melissa starting off, and then her getting Arpita to understand where she was at the moment, and then perhaps better yet, where she could direct herself. But so on the one hand, I'm always grateful to you, Melissa, and then you, Jon, as well, because if it hadn't have been, frankly, for the path that you guys forged, me personally, I'd probably be in a different spot right now.
Don't make me cry,
but-
Palma.
That's why I wear my glasses. So but to your question, Mike, eventually over time, I did witness firsthand Arpita's, or actually the return of Arpita to the young lady that she was when she caught my eye several years ago. But what I mean is she laughed on a daily basis. She just was more fun to be around, frankly. She had a twinkle in her eye. She had her shine back. And yeah, there were ups and downs. That's the reality of life, good days and bad days. But the important takeaway for me was like, I never was against coaching or never was disinterested. I was intrigued. I think with everything, there's a time elapse that has to occur for something to happen and a change to occur. So I saw this transformation in her, and eventually started thinking more and more about how I apply this to myself. And sidestep for a moment, I mean, we all knew or thought we knew how to take care of ourselves. We're all physicians. Eat right, get sleep, don't smoke, occasionally drink, exercise. And I was doing all that, but yet eventually over time, years and years, I just was not a happy person, angry, anxious, began to hurt. And I failed to understand that although I thought I was taking care of myself, I wasn't completely. And the whole mind-body connection component was a foreign concept to me, even though I was a physician and involved in research. So I frankly started working with you a little bit, remember? And then through Jon, was introduced to Dex and worked with Dex for quite a while shortly after that. And what struck me, several things did, but one takeaway was that I learned more about the evidence behind how our thoughts control or affect our gene expression. And holy cow, all of a sudden I could understand that our thoughts actually are an epigenetic influencer and can influence the expression of catabolic genes or anabolic genes. And it started to kind of come full circle, and I enjoyed reading several different books. One by Bruce Lipton, another one by Joe Dispenza, and then more recently one by a Japanese researcher. I'm blanking on his last name, Emoto, I think. But he actually photographed water as it was freezing and could individually photograph each water crystal and demonstrate or document how water crystals change relative to being exposed to positive or negative thoughts. And these photographs he's published, these symmetric, beautiful crystals when they're exposed to positive thoughts, and quite the opposite when they're exposed to negative thoughts. But we're 70% water. So again, that helped reinforce the concept that physiologically this makes sense. Our thoughts can actually have physiologic changes, and therefore we can influence our thoughts as well and adopt positive mindsets and have a positive impact on our bodies. And that brings us back to the mind-body connection. And so now my daily routine includes it's coherence breathing. I used to do a lot of meditating that kind of transitioned to the heart math program I'm doing now. But anyway, that was a long-winded response. But if it hadn't been for these other three individuals, I would not be here in this position I'm at now. I would have had a completely different answer for your question probably. But I'm in a better spot because of them.
Yeah. What you just described as a long-winded response left like all the tissue boxes empty in your respective household. So don't absolutely don't undermine what you just said, because I think it is super powerful and also incredibly impactful, especially to the people that know you so well. And so this is such an amazing story. I mean, two couples, you guys have all known each other for so long. I won't put out the exact number of years, to respect everybody's, but how has this impacted your friendship? Like the four of you, when you think back about where you guys started, intern year to where your friendship is at now, how does that look?
I'll let you answer, Opie.
I will say, I think in the beginning, there was just a lot of I wouldn't say even in the beginning, Melissa was there from the get-go for me. Like that first year of residency, we did our very first rotation together on the renal service with our attending, who was, it was a unique experience that month. But that was the first month where we had just moved there as well. So my husband, Michael and I were there. We weren't married yet. And so kind of navigating through the relationship with her, that's what really kind of cemented our friendship, because she became my who I leaned on for whatever was going on then. And our story that, I had to talk to my parents because it wasn't a traditional marriage for our culture. And so she kind of helped a lot with some of the ups and downs that we were going through at that time. But
I was coaching
we
even back then. I just didn't know
didn't know it. Yep. So I think we were just always it was the rat race, is what I remember. We're going through residency, we're rat race, and I feel like there was always a lot of competition, not just amongst us, but amongst all the residents and what we're creating in our life. And that really kind of stopped and changed when even after coaching, or even after residency, I stopped practicing and I was going to these conferences like she mentioned, because that was my way of proving my worth, in a sense that even though I'm not practicing, I'm still doing this. I'm still keeping my my licensure and everything up to date. But it almost felt like I was not as good as she was. Like I was not good enough because she's actually practicing. And so that still level of comparisonitis was there. And then we started with the coaching, and then it just was like this whole world blew up with just unconditional love, right? And not that we didn't love each other before. And Melissa, you might have a completely different take on this, but I did feel like there was always some like just comparisonitis, and that was gone. It's just like, oh my gosh, I'm just so glad that I have you in my life and that you're here to support me with whatever I need help with, and vice versa. I'm here to support you, although I still feel like she's miles ahead of me, so she doesn't really need my support other than just I love you. But just I think that changed with our relationship over time. And now it's just like, it doesn't matter how much time goes in between us seeing each other or talking to each other, we can pick back up. And a lot of friendships are like that. But what I mean, I guess with her, is maybe that wasn't always there before, that I would be curious, is like, is our friendship as strong as it was? And there's not ever a question in my mind that it's not. And I wanted just to speak a little bit about, even with Michael, like that relationship with him, from my experience with coaching, it was that one of the biggest shifts that I had was, what is being right costing you? Like the cost of the intimacy to be right. And that was a lot between us, because there was a lot of bickering, and it's not totally gone. We talked about that too in the last episode. We're not perfect, but it's so much better. It's so much more improved that I don't really need to be right here, or I can see his perspective in this situation, and I honor that. And I'm willing to listen to that. And look at John's eyebrows going up, like, are we
Well,
sure?
I just can't believe that you don't always have to be right anymore. It's a miracle.
But is that true?
Miracle of coaching.
It's so funny.
I want to
decision making.
I want to speak for a second, because it just goes to show that, like, we're always thinking about ourselves more than we're thinking about other people. Because, to be honest, I've never had comparisonitis to Arpita, other than, she and Michael make a shit ton more money than Jon and I do, and they travel way better than we do.
I don't think
but but anyway, so that just goes to show, like, I've never had that thought before, and maybe it was because I was practicing and you weren't. I don't know. But, and then to speak to the, like, needing to be right, I mean, I think that by virtue of being a physician, where you're at work all day and people are taking orders from you and you're the person who's in charge and that type of thing, and then you come home with that energy of, I'm the one in charge, I'm the one who's right, and you also are married to someone who is having that same energy at work and that type of thing, and it makes it tough unless you are very deliberate about how you want to handle yourself and that type of thing. And I think that both of us are more willing to say, like, I was wrong or you are right. And certainly when I say to Jon, you are right, he's always like, oh, a little louder for the people in the back. Like,
It happens so rarely. I mean, I got to take advantage
Yeah.
of it.
Celebrate every win.
Yeah.
So
Very quickly, Arpita and Melissa, we're in the same training program. Michael and I were not. we were a little bit like plus ones when we first met each other. But Michael, I'm a pretty discerning person in terms of who I want to hang out with. And Michael's a good dude, always has been, and really helped me through a couple of my own unrelated medical problems with my spine, which, really was something I really was grateful for. And so when a time came for me to talk to him about coaching, it was something I felt like I could pay him back for helping me. One last thing, or one other thing that Arpita and Melissa both touched on sort of in their own unique way. I think one of the things that for us is we just stay in our own lane a little bit better. We're not trying to, we don't have a manual for the other person to live their life by that we expect them to abide by. If that makes sense. They have their own manual. We're along for the ride. You can't write the manual for them. If you do, you get yourself into trouble. So again, there's no scoreboard for being right anymore. And she's doing her thing, as Arpita has told you. She's all over the place with these conferences and this coaching, and I'm doing my own thing, and we just happen to be in the same house.
Well, this is great. There is, I think, the one kind of underlying thing here, except for maybe Melissa, I think there was a ton of skepticism around coaching before kind of leaning into it, right? Or maybe just like not really clear on this unknown entity. Michael, like when you think about like the skepticism around coaching, what would you tell other physicians that are like curious about coaching, but also a little bit skeptical?
I think I have a pretty straightforward answer, and that is, sitting here now looking backwards, I wish I'd done this a long time ago. And I don't dwell on this, but I think frankly, I wish I had, because I think I would have made more of the time I had in our personal relationships would have been different. I would have been a happier person. So I would say to a colleague, look, I would briefly share my experience, how I thought I was taking care of myself, all these different things that we're taught and trained to do. But there's a missing piece, and that's the mind-body component and our thoughts. And don't hesitate; you will benefit. So go all in. We tend to, I say we, maybe I'll just focus on myself, almost can't get out of our way sometimes. You guys know what I'm talking about. You encounter this much more frequently than I do, speaking to potential clients. But once someone can get out of their own way and start to experience the positive changes, then it's it's downhill after that, so to speak. And I kind of recognize when dealing with other folks, sometimes their thought patterns, and I'm not even trying to. I'm just like, oh gosh, they're thinking about it in a way that you could think about it differently, and have a better experience. And as a quick example, my daughter was having, she was upset or concerned about something with a friend, and I said, hey, if you think about it this way, and there's a different way to think about this, and that might create a more positive experience for you, and that would, and it's your thought is probably equally plausible as your negative thought, but when it's a positive thought, it's a much more pleasant experience for you. And so I kind of, with myself, choose to think in a way about situations that are believable for me, but clearly create a more positive experience for myself. Back to the decision-making thing. Again, when we want to control because we fear the outcome, therefore we feel like we have to control the decision as much as possible. And for me, that fueled anger. So I was trying to control, and we can't control everything. But once I could step out of that mindset, our decision making became a little more smooth. No longer an answer. I'm sorry, Mike. It's
no. I think this is great. What about you, Melissa? When you think about the skepticism around physicians and coaching, I see a lot of when I'm like reading stuff on social media and stuff. People really still are. We're seeing a lot more physicians looking into coaching, but there's also still a lot of can't I just talk about this with my friends? Like, why do I need a coach? So what do you like? How do you talk to physicians around that?
I think it's just like anything else that you are skeptical of. You're afraid of what you don't know. And I think there's a lot of disbelief that like life could really be as good as we're purporting it to be, and people thinking that like you can't possibly be as happy and as fulfilled as you are, as you're portraying yourself to be, right? So I think it's just like anything else that we have bias against. It's just because they just don't know and they don't think it's available to them. And I think that a lot of people think that those of us who've gone before are like special unicorns or something like that, and we have some secret that we're not sharing with the universe. But I think it's just, if you just give it a chance and give it a try, and like you can always go back to not having coaching. Like nobody's gonna hold you down and make you do it. But I've never met anyone who has invested the time or the money in themselves for coaching that hasn't been changed for the better. And speaking about gene expression, like I like to think that we are like stopping intergenerational trauma. Like, of course, we're going to screw up our kids in some way, but it's not going to be in this way. And, you can see, you can see it happening. Like, I'll give a small example. The other day, Jack, our oldest, who's a junior in college, was home, and he said, Mom, I just don't think it's fair that they expect a 20-year-old to know what he wants to do for the rest of his life. And I was like, oh, buddy, I was like, you just have it wrong. Like, you don't have to know. Like, you can try what you're doing now. And if it doesn't work out, you can do something else. Like, you don't have to do this for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Like, it's okay to fuck up and not know and make a mistake. And you'll learn so much more by failing than you will by just going straight through and like having it be easy, quote unquote. Right. So I think that's a long-winded answer to your question. John's like, yeah, it is.
No,
Right,
I mean,
right.
I think you bring up an excellent point, and one which is, even if you're not doing this for you, when you lean into this experience, when you sign up for coaching, the impact that it has on everyone around you, and for me, speaking personally, the impact that this has not only had on my wife and my children, but my patients and how I show up at work. And literally, there isn't anybody that doesn't notice a difference from where I was before I started on this journey till now. And my children are much younger than yours, and so my elementary school aged kids, I see a lot of me in my daughter and how she responds and how she reacts to certain situations. And I get to make sure that at 8 years old, she knows all the stuff that it took me 40 plus years to figure out for me. And so saving her the struggle and letting her figure it out at a young age to just make her life better forever. I mean, you can't, I personally can't put a price on that. And even if I had gotten nothing out of this, the fact that I can gift this to my children is everything to me.
Yeah. And I just want to add the one little piece. I think Melissa and Michael, you both kind of touched on it, is, like the perception is that we're living this amazing, joyful, happy life. And we are, and there's still also the bad, negative, crappy times. And we have experiences that make us feel horrible and upset and angry and sad. They all still happen. And we're able to kind of work through it in a more productive manner. So they still happen. We still experience the shitty 50-50 is what we call it, the shitty 50 or the 50-50. But we're just we're positioned in a way where we can be much more productive in dealing with it. And that doesn't mean that we don't have those setbacks, but we're able to just, be more happy in the end and recognize where we still have areas of growth there.
Mindful how long we're going to stay in the muck of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I say one thing about physicians that are, I think, specific to physicians is, we've all done this. We're an undergraduate. we got to tailor our entire undergraduate career to get into med school, then to get to residency, get a job. And so, and it's so competitive that we feel blessed to be able to do what we're doing. But when things don't go well, we have bad feelings or we're struggling. It's almost like you're not entitled to have those struggles because everyone else wants to be in our position and we shouldn't be feeling any negativity about anything. So that's one big hurdle that I found that physicians really struggle with. And the other one is there's this really unfortunate stigma for physicians, especially male physicians, to say, I need some help. You know, I mean, I need someone to help me navigate this. And so those two boundaries really for me, when I talk to other guys at my job who I can see are struggling a little bit, are things that always come out. And so that's what I speak to when I talk to them about coaching. All the other stuff here is great, but I think those two messages really resonate with a lot of people I talk to.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think that is what kind of motivated me so much to get out there and to start talking about this more and more, because there are not a ton of male physicians out there talking about, like, this is all normal. I remember the first time I ever sat through a group coaching session with other physicians, and there were other male physicians there. And the biggest takeaway I got from that group coaching session was, oh my gosh, it's not just me. And I think when we do, you know, lend credence to this, when we start talking about it, when we start showing everyone that this is so common, we can bring male physicians into the fold so that they can start getting they can start up leveling their life in the same way that we have. And I think female physicians have been a little bit quicker to adopt this, to accept the help, to make the changes. And I think, you know, male physicians are just starting to kind of start to see it also. Michael, you've had some experiences with this too. What do you think?
Yeah, I think just reflecting on my personal experience, as I mentioned, I wasn't resistant or disinterested. I just kind of knew eventually I would turn to coaching, but it wasn't until I was into it that I fully understood and appreciated the positive impact. And now thinking, well, gosh, I wish I'd done that much sooner. And that was after people very close to me whose opinions and judgments I trusted and valued, and I saw their experience. So I think, yeah, it's increasing the level of awareness and making these resources like you guys available, accessible to or peer physicians who need that sort of not just support, but help in helping themselves. And to realize that it's not, by asking for help, it's not a sign of weakness. It's just, I mean, look, if you're going to commit to eating vegetables every day and getting up in the morning and running or exercising and not smoking, it's just the same commitment to doing something for an additional variable. That is your mind, your thoughts, and that's going to have an additional positive impact. So, yeah, there's probably some resistance, maybe stubbornness, because what is this? This is not therapy. I'm not unwell. So I think, yeah, awareness, which is what you guys are talking about, and working to expand. Yeah, hats off to you guys.
I just said to him earlier, that's because when you said the women were a little bit ahead, I just mentioned that we're smarter. That's why I was bringing that up.
Well, you know, honestly, I've said before, you know, that, you know, women have this kind of, you know, are known for being nurturing, for being the caretakers. And I had been asked previously, why do I think that, you know, female physicians have opted into physician coaching so much sooner than male physicians? And my answer was, you know, right now, the female physicians, in particular, the female physician coaches, are caretaking our entire profession, right? Like, they are kind of helping us to kind of see what's going on here. And I know this because most of my physician coaches, when I first started, were female physicians, right? There weren't a ton of male physician coaches in this space. And so hats off to our female physician coaching colleagues who have gone out and started to show everybody that change is possible, and that you don't, you know, like, yes, struggling is normal, but you don't actually have to be struggling to up level your life through coaching. There are so many different aspects of your life that can be improved. And Melissa, you've been doing this for a long time. You're one of the female physician coaches that I'm referring to when I say this. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honored to be part of a group of women and men who are wanting to show other people that there is so much possibility. And, you know, I think for most of us who go into medicine, not 100% of us, but a lot of us had that dream since we were little kids. And, you know, it's okay to like have another dream now and to want to change it up and do something differently, and either in addition to practicing medicine or instead of, right? So I think when you think about the great need that there is to, you know, we obviously want to keep as many physicians in medicine as possible because, you know, we want smart people to stay and to be able to take care of us and our loved ones and, you know, for the health of the planet and the health of the world, right? But it's pretty awesome to be part of a movement. And, you know, I don't think of myself as an OG, but I'm glad that you guys do. I have been doing it since 2020. So, I mean, it has been 3 years. And, you know, when you think about 3 years, like changing 4 people's lives so drastically in 3 years, and then changing their family's experience of life, and then all the ripple effects, and like all the people that you've coached, Uppy, and all the people that you've coached, Michael, like just the ripple effects of it. There aren't enough of us. We need more for sure. And, you know, the more the merrier, the better. Like the more people that receive coaching, the more people that become coaches, I think the better all the way around. So that's all I'll say about that.
Well, this has been, I've loved talking to all of you. I honestly very inspired by kind of just the relationships, the kind of where you guys, how long you guys have all known each other, and just the evolution of your relationships over time, not only as married couples, but as friends. And it's really inspiring to see and to hear about. Melissa, you know, can you, for people that might be interested in your coaching program, can you tell people how they might find you?
Yes, you can find me at my website, which is melissaparsonscoaching.com. I'm on Instagram, Coach Melissa Parsons MD, Facebook, Melissa Parsons Coaching. I have a podcast. It's called Your Favorite You. It is available to you on all the different podcast platforms that you could possibly think of. I am transitioning right now. I'm starting a new group coaching program that's going to commence in May. I haven't talked about it much except to my current and former clients, and it's not going to be all physicians. It will be all women, but you know, unsurprisingly, a lot of my clients are physicians just because they relate to me. But there's going to be some other amazing powerhouse women in there too. So you can sign up to be on my email list, or just go to my Instagram or Facebook and follow me there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I just want to add that this episode is airing right before our anniversary. It's what, number 20?
Who knows?
You can't put a number on these things. Oh wait, no, actually, yes, you can. Okay, go on.
You just can't get it wrong. You just can't get it wrong.
Okay, my wife doesn't remember our anniversary either. It's fine.
But so it's just kind of neat, all the things coming together and celebrating, and just being able to talk to our old friends and good friends and just lifelong friends. So but thank you for you guys all showing up today to join us on the podcast and share our stories.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Doctors Melissa and Jon Parsons, doctors Arpita and Michael DePalma, thank you both I thank you all so much for being here today, and we will see everybody next time on another episode of Doctors Living Deliberately. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.